प्राणभवेशं सम्यक् सत्यं परं पुरुषम् उपैति दिव्यम्. One who at the time of death fixes his life as between the eyebrows, and by the strength of yoga with an undeviating mind engages himself in remembering the Supreme Lord in full devotion, will certainly attain to the Supreme Personality of Godhead purpose. In this verse, it is clearly stated that at the time of death, the mind must be fixed in devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For those practiced in yoga, it is recommended that they raise the life force between the eyebrows to the Agnya Chakra. The practice of such chakra yoga involving meditation on the 6 chakras is suggested here. A pure devotee does not practice such yoga, but because he is always engaged in Krishna consciousness at death, he can remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his grace. This is explained in verse 14. The particular use of the word yoga is significant in this verse because without practice of yoga, whether Sat Chakra Yoga or Bhakti Yoga, one cannot come to this transcendental state of being at the time of death. One cannot suddenly remember the Supreme Lord at death. One must have practiced some yoga system, especially the system of Bhakti Yoga. Since one's mind at death is very disturbed, one should practice transcendence through yoga during one's life.
Yad aksharam veda vido vadanti vishanti yad yatayo vidha ragaha yad ichanto brahmacharyam charanti tatte padam sangrahena pravakshaye. Persons who are learned in the Vedas, who utter Omkara, and who are great sages in the renounced order, enter into Brahman. Desiring such perfection, one practices celibacy. I shall now briefly explain to you this process by which one may attain salvation. Lord Shri Krishna has recommended to Arjuna the practice of Sat Chakra Yoga, in which one places the air of life between the eyebrows. Taking it for granted that Arjuna might not know how to practice Sat Chakra Yoga, the Lord explains the process in the following verses. The Lord says that Brahman, although one without a second, has various manifestations and features, especially for the impersonalist, the Akshara or Omkara, the syllable Om, is identical with Brahman. Krishna here explains the impersonal Brahman into which the renounced order of sages enter. In the Vedic system of knowledge, students from the very beginning are taught to vibrate Om and learn of the ultimate impersonal Brahman by living with the spiritual master in complete celibacy. In this way, they realize two of Brahman's features. This practice is very essential for the student's advancement in spiritual life. But at the moment, such brahmachari life is not at all possible. The social construction of the world has changed so much that there is no possibility of one's practicing celibacy from the beginning of the student life. Throughout the world, there are many institutions for different departments of knowledge, but there is no recognized institution where students can be educated in brahmachari principles. Unless one practices celibacy, advancement in spiritual life is very difficult. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya has announced, according to spiritual injunctions of this age of Kali, that in this age, no process of realizing Supreme is possible except the chanting of the holy names of Lord Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
All right. सर्वद्वाराणि संयम्य मनोहृदि निरुध्य च मूर्धनि Adhyatmana pranam astito yoga dharanam. The yogic situation is that of detachment from all sensual engagement, closing all the doors of the senses and fixing the mind on the heart and the life air at the top of the head. One establishes himself in yoga. Purport. To practice yoga, as is suggested here, one first has to close the doors of all sense enjoyment. This practice is called pratyahara, or withdrawing the senses from the sense objects. The sense organs for acquiring knowledge, the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and touch, should be fully controlled and should not be allowed to engage in sense self-gratification. In this way, the mind focuses on the supersoul in the heart, and the life force is raised to the top of the head. In the sixth chapter, this process is described in detail. But as mentioned before, this practice is not practical in this age. The best process is Krishna consciousness. If one is always able to fix his mind on Krishna in devotional service, it is very easy for him to remain in an undisturbed transcendental trance or in samadhi.
Anybody?
ओमित्य ब्रह्मा व्याहरन् मामनुस्मरन् य प्रयाति त्यजन् देहं स याति परमां गतिम्. After being situated in this yoga practice and vibrating the sacred syllable Om, the supreme combination of letters, if one thinks of the supreme personality of Godhead and quits his body, he will certainly reach the spiritual planet. Purport. It is clearly stated that Om, Brahman, and Lord Krishna are not different. The impersonal sound of Krishna is Om, but the sound Hare Krishna contains Om. The chanting of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is clearly recommended for this age. So, if one quits his body at the end, clearly of life, chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare, he certainly reaches on one of the spiritual planets. According to the mode of his practice, the devotees of Krishna enter the Krishna planet, Goloka Vrindavana. For the personalists, there are also innumerable other planets known as Vaikuntha planets in the spiritual sky, whereas the impersonalists remain in the Brahma Jyoti.
Ananya chetah satatam yo mam smrati nityashah tasyaham sulabha prartha nityayuktasya yoginah. For one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Partha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. This verse especially describes the final destination attained by the unalloyed devotees who serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhakti Yoga. Previous verses have mentioned four different kinds of devotees: the distressed, inquisitive, those who seek material gain, and the speculative philosophers. Different processes of liberation have also been described: Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, and Hatha Yoga. The principles of these yoga systems have some bhakti added, but this verse particularly mentions pure bhakti yoga without any mixture of jnana, karma, and hatha. As indicated by the word ananya cheta, in pure bhakti yoga, the devotee desires nothing but Krishna. The pure devotee does not desire promotion to heavenly planets, nor does he seek oneness with the Brahmajyoti, or salvation, or liberation from material entanglement. A pure devotee does not desire anything. In the Chaitanya Charamrita, the pure devotee is called Nishkama, which means he has no desire for self-interest. The perfect peace belongs to him alone, not to them who strive for personal gain. Whereas Jnana Yogi, Karma Yogi, and Hatha Yogi has his own selfish interest. A perfect devotee has no desire other than to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Lord says that for anyone who is unflinchingly devoted to him, he is easy to attain. A pure devotee always engages in devotional service to Krishna in one of his various personal features. The Krishna has various plenary expansions and incarnations such as Rama and Narsimha, and a devotee can choose to fix his mind in loving service to any of these transcendental forms of the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee meets with none of the problems that plague the practitioners of other yogas. Bhakti yoga is very simple and pure and easy to perform. One can begin simply by chanting Hare Krishna. Lord is merciful to all, but as we have already explained, he is especially inclined towards those who always serve him without deviation. The Lord helps such devotees in various ways. As stated in Vedas, Katha Upanishad, Yam evaishya vrunite tena labhyash tasyaisha atma vivritan vivrunite tanum swam. One who is fully surrendered and engaged in devotional service of the Supreme Lord can understand the Supreme Lord as he is. And as stated in Bhagavad Gita, Dadhami buddhi yogam tam. The Lord gives such a devotee sufficient intelligence so that ultimately the devotee can attain him in his spiritual life. The special qualification of the pure devotee is that he is always thinking of Krishna without deviation and without considering the time or place. Therefore, there should be no impediments. He should be able to carry out his service anywhere and at any time. Some say that the devotee should remain in holy places like Vrindavana or some holy town where the Lord lived. But a pure devotee can live anywhere and create the atmosphere of Vrindavana by his devotional service. It was Sri Advaita who told Lord Chaitanya, wherever you are, O Lord, there is Vrindavana. As indicated by the words Satatam and Nitya Shah, which mean always, regularly, or every day, a pure devotee constantly remembers Krishna and meditates upon him. These are the qualifications of the pure devotee for whom the Lord is most easily attainable. Bhakti Yoga is a system that Gita recommends above all others. Generally, the Bhakti Yogis are engaged in 5 different ways. Shanta Bhakta, engaged in devotional service in neutrality. Dasya Bhakta, engaged in devotional service as servant. Shini, please. Sankhya Bhakta, engaged as a friend. Vatsalya Bhakta, engaged as a parent. Madhurya Bhakta, engaged as a conjugal lover of the Supreme Lord. In any of these ways, a pure devotee is always constantly engaged in transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord and cannot forget the Supreme Lord. And so for him, the Lord is easily attained. A pure devotee cannot forget the Supreme Lord for a moment. And similarly, the Supreme Lord cannot forget his pure devotee for a moment. This is the great blessings of the Krishna conscious process of chanting the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.